Hello everyone, and welcome to the angriest tier list of all time. We have the boys in red, the angry smashy bashy men.
The butchers.
The world eaters. I'm joined today by Mark, who is fresh from the BFS Teams tournament where he ran World Eaters to first place.
Yep.
First place spot for your team. So, well done, Mark.
Thank you.
Well done.
They can't see the fist bump on stream, but understand it's there.
So we're going to review all the different data sheets in World Eaters, see where they rank competitively, see how they do. And if you like this kind of content, if you like this video, please leave a comment down below letting us know what you think. Please leave a like, please subscribe, hit the bell icon. It all helps us out very, very much. And if you're interested in getting more of this kind of content, you can go to our website, thewarroom.vhx.tv. There is a 3-day free trial of the War Room going on right now. As you can see right there, it's in the link down below. If you want to check it out, there's never been a better time.
Do it.
All right, let's get into it, Mark.
Let's get into it. So starting off at the top of the list.
Starting off with the top of the list, we've got the Demon Prince.
Demon Prince. Okay. So before we go, what are we describing each of these tiers? You know, S tier is like busted, oh my god, amazing. We're going A tier is like this is solid, this is good. Staple, or what we have.
I would say S is like this just auto include. Like just, you know what?
Auto.
Boop. Boop. Oyuto. Pink. There we go. Oh. That should tell you. Auto include. And then, you know, like solid, pretty good, strong choice, perfectly balanced, and then flawed choice. And what would you call those who have earned Khorne's disfavor?
Khorne's disfavor, the dirty deed. Can you know
more butchers nails, please?
More butchers. That's actually perfect.
All right. So that's what we're going to be, how we're going to be ranking them. Tournament staple, and we got stuff that's a strong choice. Stuff that's perfectly balanced, nothing wrong with it, but and then things that maybe have something wrong with them, something that prevents them from doing what they want to do, or they don't really have an identity. And then you have stuff that doesn't do great.
This is just sad.
Yeah, kind of an embarrassment, honestly. It's going to fall into the bottom category. So what do you think of the Demon Prince there, Mark?
So Demon Prince to me is a staple for me personally. And the reason for that is because like it's our fastest individual codex, our unit in the codex. 12-inch movement fly. It's a character, so you can just hide it behind a Rhino, not be shot at. It's practically the closest thing we had to like a Van Vet squad of Underhammers.
Just a single character.
Just a single character. And the Warp Bolter is great for me. I think if you're not running one, you definitely should be. And if you have the space and you can make it work and learn the styles for it, I think 2 is great. It's probably like a strong choice because not everyone is playing with tactic success, but it adds so much to army, so much dynamic to the army.
I can get behind them in strong choice. They hit pretty hard.
Yeah.
They have a lot of attacks, and they do have that Warp Bolter that can add up over the course of the game. So
the strength
I do like them.
is just massive for lots of things in the free damage because like you combine them with your Exalted Eightbound, that's just your free damage engine. And to me, if you're playing like my type of style, they're staple. They are how you want to build that style, but the more generic across what everyone else is doing. In the meta right now, they're kind of very strong choice. Should be delved into more.
They're cheaper. They're cheaper than normal ones, right? They're like
they're 165.
165 with the wings.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good beat stick character, honestly.
Yep. And you know what? When it dies, it gives you money points anyway.
It does give you them blood points.
And blood points.
All right. Let's go over a data sheet that definitely, in my opinion, if this is not tournament staple, then what is, Mark?
This
is Lord Invocatus.
This is the definition of staple at this rate. Like even when you don't take him as a warlord because you play an Angron build, you probably still want him because he's just better than the regular Juggernaut Lord by miles for those points.
Yeah, So Lord Invocatus is a 6-inch orb +2 move to core, which is insane. And he is a bucket of attacks at AP3 damage 2, ignores invuln, which is great. He has fly. I know it looks like he doesn't, but trust me, he does. He has fly. And he has Path of 8 Bloody Steps or Road of 8 Bloody Steps or whatever, which is his warlord trait that only he can take, where you move him and 2 units, two core units at the start of the game. You just make a normal move. Don't care.
Do it.
You don't have to end 9 away. You don't have to... None of that.
Yep.
So you just take him, 2 units of 8-bound. You just move them 11. He moves 12. They move 11. This after you know who's going first. Then you move again. You charge them.
Yep. He is literally like the best opening, him and like whatever units of Scour, like in the game. Like he is one of the best playmakers like for opening play in the game. Like it's just so insane. Setting up pace, tempo, deal with this. You can sacrifice him early. You can make him last 5 turns. You get him in there. Insane in-game step. He's so flexible that he's nuts. And also, if you go second, you can still pre-game move your guys into ruins in the center and just control the whole board, even if you go second. Yep.
So it's very, very strong. And then he gives out the +2 move aura, and he's a beat stick.
Yep.
What's not to love?
I love it. For some reason, he has a 2 armor save versus a regular Juggernaut Lord has 3.
That's... Yeah. So, the regular Juggerlord obviously isn't Invocatus.
No.
It's, he's, he ain't the big man, but he's not bad.
He's not bad.
He's pretty good if you give him Berserker Glaive, then he hits really hard.
With the Berserker Glaive, I think is like the only way to run him, because otherwise he just hits really kind of like a wet noodle.
Yeah, he does. What is he? Strength
7.
Strength 7, AP2, damage 2.
Yeah.
And then with Berserker Glaive, he's Strength 9, AP3, damage 2 with Tesla.
Yeah. With, like, not even Tesla, like, insane Tesla.
With 6s to hit are 3 additional hits once you proc your blood type
So,
thing.
considering him with Berserker Glaive at all times, I actually think he's perfectly balanced, because this entire weekend for me, he's unimpressive unless he rolls a bunch of 6s. Even if he rolls 1 6, it kind of just balances out. He just feels like another Berserker squad or like an 8-bound squad almost.
What is he? He's like
125.
125.
So he's in that same category as points.
And he's spending his CP. You're probably not missing too much.
Yeah.
So 125. I could see him falling in perfectly balanced or strong choice.
Because like he can turn into insane as soon as you just roll like 4 6s and it's just out of control. But if you only roll 1 or 0, like I had that happen every single time. I'm just like, this is not impressive. But he does clear house for basic stuff. If you want him to punch above, you really want that spike. But otherwise, he doesn't quite punch like a Lehman Russ out.
Yeah, but I'm hard-pressed to find a character that hits too much harder for 125 that isn't, Dark Eldar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dark Eldar characters hit really hard for their points. But other than that, I don't really know who hits harder than him for 125. He hits stupidly hard. But he's also just another aura of that +2-inch move, which is just nice to have. He's kind of slow.
Yeah, he's only 10-inch movement, not 12.
He can get move blocked by your own models most of the time.
And the terrain, because he doesn't have fly like Invocatus does.
Yep. So I could see putting him perfectly balanced, although I personally really like him.
Yeah, I like him. I think he's a tool piece. He's not like a, I bring this as something else, not just another unit. You swap it out for what you want to use more.
Yeah.
All right, going into the next boy.
Going to the next boy, Kharne.
Yes.
I do like how we're going to have an even mix of tiers. So Kharne, he is more expensive than the Juggerlord, slower than the Juggerlord. Yep. Infantry, though.
Infantry for walls.
For walls and Rhino purposes. Yep. But he just doesn't really...
His strength 7 really holds him back from a lot of, like... If he was strength 8, a lot of things he would be a lot better. I think he is like, he's winning Marines on 2s. He's winning like tanks on 3s at that free damage AP4. But he's real prone to rolling not 4s the wound at times. And, yeah. He's a beat stick character who walks around 6 inches, which is just probably going to not make him very good. Right.
Because he doesn't buff the army that well. He's a reroll 1s to wound aura for core, which is not all of your army, it's some of your army. And he walks around on foot. I think he's flawed choice.
I think he's perfectly flawed. I think if he was like...
Perfectly balanced or flawed?
Flawed.
Flawed.
I think, and the reason, like, one of the reasons to double that down, he's 140 points feels like 110 or 100 points, I think he would be a strong choice. Because at that point, you're just paying him for a Berserker squad, but just, he hits overall harder into certain targets better than Berserkers do.
He does. How many attacks does he have?
10.
It's a lot.
It's a lot, and once you get the blood types on, he has a 2-up armor save, so he's a great skirmisher, but you have to get him in the skirmishing war, but he's so expensive for a skirmish war.
Yeah, the real question is, is a 6-inch moving guy that hits really hard really what this army needs?
Exactly.
And the answer, in Eldar, Kharne would be great, because you just pick a part on the board, and you make sure he's lookout sword, and then your opponent doesn't come mess with it.
Yep.
But in World Eaters, it's like, you already have a million ways to end someone if they come close to you.
Yeah.
But, what if you wanted Kharne at a steep discount? Literally the same guy, doesn't hit quite as hard, but walks around 6 inches.
I think if it was 90 points, he's an auto-include. I think at 105 points, I'll take him almost every single list.
I'm talking about the Master of Executions.
Master of Executions? Man, that's such a hard one. Is that, strong, or is that, balanced?
I don't know. So they're a cheap character.
Yep.
That hits reasonably hard. 7 attacks at strength 8?
8, yeah.
Yeah, AP3, 2 damage, 6 is to hit or 2 mortals.
Yep.
That's pretty scary. Anti-heroic 6.
Yep.
Does he do anything past being a beat stick? I mean, he raises banners.
He can do the mortals, and 6 is the wound.
Does the mortals. He can raise banners. He's just a cheap character to put in places.
He does a lot. I think the biggest problem is the fact that they decided to put him in in HQs in this army, that I think is what's holding him back. Because, for me, you take an Invocatus, 2 Demon Princes. At that point, you have more room for one more character. And I think that's where, I think for me, he fits in perfectly balanced because, if you're taking, an amount of them, you're running out. You just don't have the slots.
Yeah, in your style build, for sure, Invocatus, Double Demon Prince, and then I definitely want a Juggerlord over this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, if you had elite character slots, sure, but you don't.
No.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I want to do it other ones, but the problem is those, Avocado and Flippin' Demon Princes are just so strong. I just can't. I can't rule them over them at this point.
It's nice to have the 6-inch heroic on a unit that doesn't require you to spend CP to do it, but takes up an HQ slot, is points.
Yeah. One as a token is not bad, but if I really want to build a strategy that makes it a really, let's say more of a strong choice element, I want to be taking 3 of them, right? And it's just not really possible.
Just trying to fight control with that, and you can't do that at all.
Yeah.
Because, 3 of them would be pretty cheap. It's, 195 for 3, but you just don't have the slots for that. Mm-hmm. And if they were in the elites like they are in CSM, then you might be able to do that for 195. You just sprinkle them in there, and they hit really hard.
Yep.
But you don't have the slots.
Yep.
All right, let's talk Khorne Beserkers. What do you Berserkers? So you're not Berserkers. You are not required to take them anymore.
No.
No, but
I think they're pretty close to a staple.
Okay.
Because the overall army, they do everything, right? They are your multi-purpose tool of I body block, I screen, I remove targets, I threaten. And I have waves. This unit is so good from early game to late game. It does everything, right? This is a multi-purpose unit that's alive and a powerful all 5 turns.
Yeah.
It only gets stronger as the game goes on.
Yeah, when you get those Blood Tithe buffs rolling, Berserkers hit really hard.
Yeah.
And their objective secured.
Yep.
And they can go in a Rhino.
Yep.
Which is really good. Yeah, I like them. You think so? Where ultimately do you think they're going to go? Staple or strong choice?
I think they're staple at the moment. They could get moved down if we see that we're just overfitting there. But the Disciple of the Red Angels would be the idea of that's the they can't be taken in that army, and that army has not been explored and figured out. And
yeah, they can't go in Disciples, but
yeah, exactly. So that's a build that you couldn't take them, but every other build, you're taking at least 10 to 20, and definitely since beforehand, I was leaning back on them because they couldn't hurt Deathwing Terminators with Storm Shield to save their lives.
No, they cannot. But really, not that much could.
No, and since that's been removed, they're just that was their big you don't want to sink points into them. But now, like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I still don't think you want them into combat with Storm Shields, because 3-up armor saves no fun.
No, but once you get the right blood type going up, your AP free, then that fixes that.
That's true. Yeah, I think they're as close to an auto-include as you can get. They're just not that expensive. They hit really hard. They go in Rhinos. They're obsec, so you can take people's points away as you're rushing them down. They're really good. They're really good. I like them. What do you think on Jackals?
Jackals, I actually think are perfectly like balanced.
Okay, I can get behind that.
And the reason for that is because like they can spike and do amazingly high, incredible damage. That is one of the most potential units for like buffs, like maximizing blood types, do so much stuff. The problem for me is like it's like terrain based, because like if you can't hide them or you can't like have a good like matchups for them to like layer them out as reserves, they get really clunky, and it's also when they're not doing much, they feel like they're losing you a game, because they're just making you weak to like mass bolt to fire positions that are fast, right?
Yeah, or the indirect right now, like mortars and Desolation Marines will just scoop them up so quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 5 Desolation Marines just kill a 10-man.
Right.
Like just you're on. Bye.
I love 20-mans. I've done some 20-man squads with like a Scarbrand type build, and that was one of like my favorite builds for it. I think it's probably better for teams. I think Jackals are really strong in teams because you can mitigate a lot of those like random things that just really punish them.
Yeah, they're better into melee armies for sure, where you take a 70-point unit, you layer 15 buffs on top of it, and you say you punch way harder than a 70-point unit should.
They also hilariously can go into Rhinos, so they're great for Rhino torpedoing.
It's true. That is a little more expensive, right? It's like 150.
Yeah, but you're taking the Rhino at that point, you're like putting in a row, and then every turn you're using is a torpedo launcher, and you're trying to utilize it across the game.
It does keep them safe from indirect there, which is nice.
And they're great outflankers since they get the icon. They can do the free D6 charge out of outflank.
Yeah.
They're just a little awkward for like what I said earlier.
Yeah, they're a little awkward because they're just easy to kill, and so if your opponent is pushing you, they're probably going to get shot by bolters or indirect or something.
They don't ever feel like, if you're winning the game, they feel amazing, but as soon as you start losing the game, they're harder. They feel the pressure.
Yeah, they just fall apart really fast. If any damage is applied to them, it's like the unit's gone.
Yeah. And
you just can't have that when every unit needs to pull its weight.
Yep.
Speaking of units that pull their weight, though, 8-bound.
8-bound, that's I think that's practically staple at this moment.
Yeah, I was just going to put it up here.
They do everything. They're your openers with Invocatus, Avocado.
They get every buff. So they get the +2 move. They get reroll 1s if you really want it.
Yeah.
Off the Demon Prince. They get every strat that matters. The 6-inch heroic, the fight on death. I'm sure some Disciples of the Red Angel stuff.
Yeah, that one's got some crazy stuff on that. But like, they just do everything for the army, and be that you're taking 3-man, 4-mans, or 5-mans, all of those have been seeing, highly competitive success. For the most part, that's a unit that you are asking to do its weight in the early game. And if you don't have them for early game, I just feel like your gameplay just kind of like has a hard time getting off the ground.
They hit bananas hard.
Yeah.
And especially once you get Blood Tithe, so they start hitting on 2s, pre-rolling 1s, plus AP, exploding 6s, the whole 9 yards. They're just really obnoxious to deal with. And once you trigger 6-up Feel No Pain on the army, they become really annoying to deal with damage 3 as well.
And definitely if you get the 5-up against Mortal Wounds and that's live, it's always prone to have a dude survive.
Yep, and then one dude. The Sergeant
will just go ham.
Kills an entire unit.
And I like right now mixing them, like, you don't just have all lacerators, you also have like the heavy chain glaives. The polearm attack is just like, that Sergeant walks around with 12 attacks.
Yeah, and you can make them +1 damage.
Exactly, so he just becomes a Marine killer on his own. And then otherwise, you just use him as like, you take the 2 of your guys, swing on like 10 guardsmen, take him, swing on 1 guardsman squad, just remove them. Yeah. And that's really nice.
The amount of damage that one 3 to 5-man 8-bound can do just getting into your lines is very high.
Yeah.
And you have to deal with these guys hitting you turn 1 with Invocatus if you go second, and you have to deal with them in midboard turn 1 with Invocatus if you go first, and then you have to be like, well, do I want to push into these guys? Do I want to move forward and then get charged? They move 11 inches when they're near Invocatus or Juggernaut. Yeah, they're real good. I mean, they do have downsides.
Yep.
They are expensive for their defensive profile.
Yep.
So if you just get in a slugging match with your opponent, they can trade into them very efficiently.
Yep.
But if you're putting the pressure on your opponent, you're dictating where the fights are going to happen.
Right.
If you're deciding my units are going to hit your units where I want them to.
If you're proactively controlling which decisions your opponent can make for applying damage, they feel a lot better. But if your opponent gets to set the terms of like how he hits damage, they're just gone.
Yes.
You look at them and they're just removed.
Yes, so you definitely have to dictate plays with them. But otherwise, if you're on the back foot, they probably kind of fall apart. But if you keep the pressure up, they're going to do a decent amount of damage. So I really, really like 8-bound a lot. I think they're the backbone. Them, Berserkers, and the Lord Invocatus are the backbone of this army.
Yeah, agreed.
What do you think about their bigger, angrier brothers?
Oh, the bigger, angrier brothers. They're actually, I think, want to say like they're probably top of the strong choices, but they're somewhere in between staple and strong choice. That's the problem. Yeah. I feel like they're like right there in the middle ground. That you need that one more 3.5 or whatever.
Yeah, if they were like 5 points cheaper or something, if they were the same points cost as 8-bound.
If they had core, they would be on top of the list.
Yeah, if they had core, they'd be like be way up here. They're just suffering from not having core. These are Exalted 8-bound.
Yeah.
Yeah, Exalted 8-bound are like 8-bound, but they hit harder.
Yep, way harder.
Way harder. They hit on 2's base, which is great early game because you don't have the +1 to hit up yet. And they hit harder, but they don't have core. And how much of a deal is that, Mark?
I mean, you talk about that heroic controlling those objectives, fighting on death, man, you got to be careful with this unit. You have to, I don't use them for early game. I use them typically 1 unit for mid, 1 unit for end game. Because in the end game, they're an absolute monster that kills everything they touch. In the early game, they don't, they just die too because, they're not fast enough to dictate what your opponent can shoot at, so they just hide and wait until simplified board state. Because they don't have the core to make that extra violence in that early game for that heroic, that fight on death, when there's so much to deal with on board.
Yeah.
The 4-pin Vuln is a big deal on them.
It really is.
And the Singvet is really nice about them for more mid to late game strategies. Is the 6-inch aura for no fall back on a 4-up is also no actions within 6 inches.
Oh, that's pretty good. Also, they can deep strike.
Yeah, they can deep strike, which I've forgot about plenty of times, so they should have just deep striked instead of outflank. Whoopsie.
Whoops.
They're really flexible. I like to put them in reserves in a lot of places because one, you take up so much space as a War Leaders player, but they're like, my opponent's just not getting this close. Like, they're just 9 inches is not going to be fast enough to attack because they're just not getting close enough to your castle. So
yeah, they don't get the +2 move. They don't get rerolls.
They don't get heroic.
They don't get the 6-inch heroic. They don't get the fight. Not getting the fight on death is a big deal.
Yeah,
it makes them so much easier to deal with.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is you want to put them in positions where nothing can contest them, because they are the hardest hitting unit in the Codex. I think
8-bound with.
Outside of Angron. Outside of
Angron, yeah. The other problem is they're locked to a 3-man.
Yeah.
You can't take a 6-man. You can't take a 4-man. You can't take a 5-man. You're taking a 3-man Exalted 8-bound. For that points cost, which is, 135? Mm-hmm. Oh, man, that's so expensive.
It's expensive. That's why it's mixed between strong choice. It's going to be in your builds, but it's not quite staple. It's not your playmakers. It's typically your cleanup, and it's just not setting the pace.
It is very annoying to deal with because with Exalted 8-bound, if you don't kill them completely, you're dead.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you do have to kill them all the way because otherwise the sergeant's going to hit you back, and he has some words for you.
The squad is practically free characters that are forced to hold hands. Is the way I look at it, and that's in-game hero hammer with them.
Yep. But the 9-inch move, the no fight on death, means that on your opponent's turn, they're significantly easier to deal with.
Yep.
And the no heroic means they don't control objectives the same way.
Yep.
But they are still very, very good. What do you think of the terms? I know you had big unit of Terminators in your list.
I've tried a couple times with them across the Sings, and they are so close to being really cool and good. But the problem is, one, the elite slots are so competitive as it is.
Yes.
Because 8-bound, Exalted 8-bound.
Yeah, if you just max out your 8 and Exalted 8, you are done with slots.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to be doing.
Yeah, Terminators are just way too expensive for what they are in World Leaders. They're suffering from that chaos space marine. Like if they're like 150 for that squad, for 5, I would like one of this in there, 2 in there for utility, because they can get the +1 damage, like all the strats, and they don't die to small arms, bolter fire, and stuff like that. Like 8-bound or T5 aren't crazily like wounding on 5 is a little whiffy. But, like, there's a lot of auto-wounding small arms nowadays, so, like, the toughness just doesn't matter. The armor save is important.
Yep, or just, like, randomly AP1 puts them to a 3-up in cover, whereas Terminators still get the 2.
Yep.
They get the 6-inch heroic, which really helps them out once they make midboard. Once they get to midboard, and they have +2 move when they're near...
Yeah.
Like, they get all the buffs.
They get all the buffs.
+2 move, they get rerolls, they get, 6-inch heroic, they get fight on death, like...
Yep.
They're nasty to deal with. They
just...
can get the +1 damage as well, and with the extra attack on accursed weapons, the extra strength, and the extra attack
like their Chain Fist goes to 4 damage, all against vehicles, Power Fist go to free. The problem is you are paying, if you're getting a Chain Fist, a flippin' Power Fist, and so on, that squad 5-man just becomes 200 points, which is just unreasonable for this codex.
Yeah, it certainly is. I like 2 Chain Fists and then all accursed weapons. You just take damage 1 to damage 2.
Right.
But... like, they're still expensive.
They're so chunky.
How many points are they? 35?
35.
So, it's 350, so 360 if you want 2 Chain Fists and a 10-man.
Yeah.
Which, they don't
And we don't have an
shields.
Apothecary like we have in lore. Thanks.
Yeah. I mean, they're good. They do compete for slots.
Yep.
And they have a lot of utility there, but they compete for slots.
Yeah, they compete for slots. I think in a team event, they are probably stronger because you can build an anti-meta, like... World Leaders will still probably a little more around them, but I think they're kind of going in the flawed because like they are just it's the same problem with Scar. They're just way too much of a premium for what they do.
I would agree with that. Yeah, for sure. They hit really hard. They're just Terminators.
Yeah.
And even movement 7 Terminators makes them I guess, but they just don't compare to other Terminators.
No, they don't.
Durability wise, offense wise, they do great. But
yeah, and they compared to all the Marine Terminators right now, that are just insanely cheap and
2 points cheaper. Get Thunderhammer, Storm Shield.
Yeah, and you get so much more rules that affect them.
Yeah, I mean they probably have a similar number of rules that affect them to any given Space Marine chapter. But they require getting to that
stage versus the Space Marine chapters like auto go let's hammer it out. Right?
Yeah. And what you're looking at here, Apothecary helps a lot. What you're looking at here in this army also is an army that doesn't want to get shot.
Yeah.
So we've got 8-bound that move 11 are going to be hopping from ruin to ruin. We've got Exalted 8-bound that are going to be teleporting or hopping, or they're going to be deep striking on or hopping from ruin to ruin. We've got Berserkers that are going to be in Rhinos that are running from ruin to ruin. And then you got Terminators that move 7, which is not enough time. Right. Not enough speed.
And they can't get an icon. If they can have an icon and have a 3d6 charge out of reserves, like they're immediately utility. I think they go the perfectly balanced or maybe even strong choice at that point.
Yeah, you just reserve a 5-man, reserve a 10-man, come in, charge.
Yeah, 8 and charge at 3d6, massive, but just not doing that.
Yeah. I would agree with that. They have a lot of untapped potential, but the fact is they're going to be the thing that's getting shot.
Yeah.
Because nothing else in your army really wants to get shot. It'll all try to avoid line of sight from your opponent. But they move 7, so they will be getting shot. And that's bad.
Yep.
That's not good, because they're not durable. They're durable against small arms, but they're not durable against... Your opponent's entire army is going to have one target. It's going to be them.
Yeah.
Because everything else is fast enough to avoid line of sight. Otherwise, I'd be perfectly willing to drop 1 Exalted 8-bound squad for a unit of Terminators. No problem. Fine.
Yep.
It competes for a slot, which kind of sucks, but
That's the utility at that point.
But yeah, I would agree. I think flawed choice, which is sad, because I think they're cool.
Yeah, definitely. I have 10 of them.
I know. They hit so hard.
They do. It requires so much conditioning.
Yep.
Anyway.
Helbrute also competes for elite slot.
And also his core gets so much stuff, has so much potential. He can do the pre-game move. But you know what the problem is?
What's the problem, Mark?
He has to pay for upgrades.
Also moves 6.
He also moves 6.
That's a big problem, too.
But, he pays for upgrades versus, I've been playing around with Chaos Space Marine Helbrutes that are 105 points of free war gear, gets all these abilities, their core, they get so much cool stuff. This guy's walking around with that same war gear upgrade, 140 points. I'm like, bro.
He does move 8 when he's 140 with all this.
If you take the flamer and a good gun, Outside of Melta, he's 125. I want to say base or 120 base.
It's too much.
Yeah.
I mean, we have the codex right over there, but like, it's just gonna make you sad.
Yeah, it's just, why is he so expensive, guys? Like, come on. I've made this argument, like, if you just gave us, like, free war gear on, like everyone else has now, like, on plasma pistols on Berserkers. I wanted it so bad for the last part of 8th edition, because I'm like, if I just had free plasma pistols on all my army, like, so many problems. You can solve so many problems with this codex.
Your problems are going to be not shooting yourself in the face, and you can solve that problem real fast with plasma pistols. Is the Helbrute -1 damage?
He is -1 damage. He does get the reroll ones if you wound him. He's got a lot of cool potential. The Power Surge is strong in this one. Like, there's so many, like, he's potential, but he is perfectly flawed, I think, below Kharne, even.
Yeah, he's not great. The fact he's core and moves 8 is like when he's near one of these guys, which is situational.
And he's so hard to get around terrain because that 60 mil base competes with so much space for this army when it comes to hiding and wanting to get around.
Yeah.
He's best as an outflanker for free, but he doesn't have, outside of an 8-inch charge, he doesn't have any other reliable ways to get in there. And if you outflank him, like, I want, like, a heavy flame on there, which is 10 points. I want, like, the twin heavy bolter for outflanking, for shooting small arms firepower, because we need, like, these small arms anti-infantry gun to clear out basic, like, Kroot Hounds from blocking out crisis units and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's the reason why my Blood Angels list has so many Angelus bolt guns. Like, those things put in work.
Meltas, you just need the small arms.
Yeah, I took all the free Melta pistols, and I'm like, I just kind of want my Angelus bolt guns, because you need firepower just going 18 inches clearing out random nonsense.
Yeah.
Because you're an elite army. I don't know if you've run into the same issue my Blood Angels have, Mark.
Yep.
But you're an elite army. You can't be bothered to charge 4 Kroot Hounds on an objective with your 150
I have to do it every single time with Avocado.
Yeah, you have to do it.
And I'm like, cool, I have to make sure I kill this unit, blood types, so that's 2 VP. Kill unit on objective. That's another VP. Avocado dice, that's another 4 VP, because 2 blood types. And he died on objective, that's another points. But that's the approach I have to have.
Yeah, you have to do that.
You have to remove those units as early as possible, because in the late game, if those units are there and you can't deal with them, it's problematic.
Yeah, if you just had some bolters, you could just, clear them off and go deal with other bigger
bolter,
things.
I want to say, is either 10 or 15 points for him.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, I'm good putting him down there. He's definitely... And also, he's cheap for an elite slot, which means it's not like you can fit a 10-man Terminator for one elite slot.
Yeah.
You would, if you wanted multiple of these guys, you'd have to replace multiple units of 8-bound or Exalted 8-bound. Not about that.
Right.
Solo spawn, best spawn?
Solo spawn, best spawn, that's an auto-include, but I also want to grab... Oh, we can't get in every image. Spawn also go into strong choice as 5-man units. They are extremely good in World Eaters as 5-man units. In thicker GW terrain that has these massive footprints that spawn get light cover all the board, or like WTC in those places. Because you could just walk around and bully them. They're a great screen. They're in the 120 point range, which is, Berserkers, 8-bound, Exalted Berserkers.
5-man is 125?
125, yep.
Yeah, and it's 5 bodies with 4 wounds apiece.
Yep.
And if you
T5.
don't kill them in a phase, they heal back?
No, if you don't kill them in an attack sequence, they heal back. So every time you attack them...
If you don't kill a model, he heals back to full.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yep.
And they take buffs extremely well.
Dude, they same as the Jackals, their potential for blood types is massive for them. The +1 hit is amazing on them. All of them. The Feel No Pain is the biggest things because they're probably the best like smite screen in an army with that 5-up coming in from smites going into it. Because you don't want to put your rhinos out there because you want to use your rhinos for mobility purposes, so you don't want to sacrifice them to smite screens.
You don't want to just drive them in front of your army and then get disembarked and shot.
Yeah. Spawn do that. Spawn also are great for helping character blocking and positional blocking. They're great for occupying space to keep your opponent from engaging you in these assault matchups. So like taking like 2 5-mans, using one as kind of a, early game intro unit that your opponent will probably have to overcommit the kill, or then one as an in-game monster that's just really hard to put down.
Yeah. So they're good in 2 different ways. What you're saying is one is a solo spawn.
Yep.
Solo spawn are insane.
Yep.
I wish they were different units, honestly. One is a 5-man, one is a 1-man. But a solo spawn just holds a point in your backfield.
You are going to take
blood
1
tithe
to
when it
3
dies.
every single list.
Yeah, I think you just write in 3 solo spawn, and then you can upgrade like 2 of them to 5-mans if you want.
Yeah.
5-mans are cheap, have a boatload of attacks with +1 attack, +1 strength, and +1 to hit, exploding 6s, +1 AP, 6s to hit auto wound.
Feel no pains on them is massive.
6 of feel no pain, 'cause if you spike that, then you live with an extra guy, he heals back up.
Yep. I've had against Nyx, I've had moments where they're just out in the open against Elder, and Elder can't kill the unit because they're small instances of scatter legion shooting. I'm I got 4 ups, and they're like, yeah, you do. And the field of pain is I didn't kill a spawn. I shot him with 6 shroud runners.
Yep. But if you shoot him with a couple instances of shooting, and you just giving yourself the option to spike save sometimes, every time you roll, is this the point where you don't kill anything? Nope. Okay. Is this the point where you don't kill anything? Oh yes.
Yep. Mission for Hunter, so you came in, saw that, where we put the spawn ranking, and I want to say someone else. What was it? Charles S. He got to meet me over the top of World Leaders. Yeah, dude, that was awesome. Welcome to the community, too, flipping getting into all this.
Yeah.
Flipping. Sorry.
But, after you use them into me, I would think they use buffs better than Jackals.
Yeah.
They love that +1 strength and attack. They love that +1 to hit. They love exploding 6s. Then they hit on 3s with exploding 6s.
Yeah.
With 1,000,000 attacks, is what 2d3 +1.
And then they're one of the only sources for reroll wounds in the Codex, so they just roll that ability.
Yep, you can't auto pick it, right?
Yeah, you can't auto pick it.
No, it's not Thousand Suns.
But it gives you potential to just do so much stuff with their random abilities. Free attacks makes them insane. The AP4 is typically the one somehow you always roll, and it's not always needed.
No, you're rolling them into you're rolling them into Custodies.
Yeah,
you roll them into Harlequins. You're just I could have had 2 extra attacks.
Yep.
I could have had, reroll wounds. But
yep.
Yeah, every ability is good. They have a boatload of attacks, average of 5 attacks apiece. And once buffs start rolling, they can absolutely take over. I love those things. They're great. Yep. And they're cheap.
They're cheap.
125 for 5 is pretty gross.
And that's the point ranges you want to be building with your World Leaders. You got Beserkers, you got 8-bound, Exalted 8-bound, and Spawn, all at 125, all in the 120 point ranges. Build some combination of them based on your terrain and your meta, right?
Yeah. So if you take 225 point units and a solo spawn for your backfield, then you take 6 3-man units and 4 characters. That's basically what you were taking, and it's just MSU units that hit really, really hard for days. And then you take, Berserkers are also 120 if you give them the banner and the Eviscerator. Yeah, you just keep all of your threats in the 120 point range. So the trading is, once you hit your opponent, every time you hit enemy unit, you're not over committing.
Yep.
Yeah.
For someone giving advice over there for Spawn, the actual GBA model sucks. I suggest looking at anything chaos based or really walkie based, probably in Sigmar. Sigmar makes a lot of good models that could be Spawn.
Yeah, and in terms of 8-bound, I believe they have the specific Age of Sigmar 8-bound version.
Yeah.
They're not called 8-bound, they're called something like Wrathmongers.
Yeah,
or
and
something.
they got them with all the different weapons too, flipping balls and chains, dual wielding, blah 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 blah.
Yeah, I would definitely take a look at those because I think those fit the theme. They look about the same, and I don't think they're good in Blades of Khorne. I'm pretty sure they're not. Blades of Khorne is all Skull Crushers and Bloodthirsters, 3 Bloodthirsters and Scarbrand, all activating each other. But yeah, I love the Spawn. Spawn are great.
Yeah. All right, the Chad Raider.
The Land Raider.
So, flipping Chad Raider. Where does the Chad Raider go? What I want to shout out to blog for the Blood God, Dean over from Australia. He took free to an event, I want to say this past weekend or something like that. And all I saw that he went 3-0, and I don't know, I couldn't find the final term result. I didn't know if it was RTT or GT, but I can confirm he won 3 games in a row with triple Land Raider. So, that was pretty cool. They have really interesting, utility in, they are definitely not I think they are top of the world for heavy supports. For World Eaters?
I mean, yeah, it's all downhill from here. It's real not great.
So I think they are probably just flawed choice. Or no, probably I would almost put the very bottom of perfectly balanced because I could see taking them before Terminators, Kharne, and what's it called?
Okay.
Because, like, one, they give you some gun, but this is totally terrain-based. And only because Blood for the Blood God did it. And I'm going to give total shouts to that. So go check him out, guys.
All right, fine. Just because of Blog for the Blood God. Otherwise...
And you tied against them one time. With,
yeah, but that was not in the current book.
I know.
That was using CSM rules, which is very different. All right, we've got the Forgefiend.
Oh, more nails, please. The first one on the list. He's on the butcher block.
Does not shoot very hard at all.
Oh.
For a shooting unit, it's like the only shooting unit in the book, and I mean, there's another one, but boy, it's rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's...
Rip.
Yeah, they just don't shoot good. They're very inefficient at it.
Yep.
That's basically all I need to say. Like, they're just incredibly inefficient shooting platforms.
Yep. Sadness.
Sadness.
Poor buddy. If he was, like, 40 points cheaper, maybe we consider him in all the things. Like, that will be a decent unit, but just no.
Yeah.
Nothing to support him. He is just a sad face.
Yeah, he just doesn't... Nah, he's... Yeah, no. The less said, the better.
I think Maulerfiend, after that, probably goes in the flawed above Kharne.
Yeah, right about there-ish.
Yeah, I think he has a lot more utility than Kharne. He has the high damage, high strength. He's an outflanker. You don't start that guy on board. He just gets shot really easily. And, he benefits well from blood types.
Yeah, this is not an army that can get shot multiple times. It can't. It has to work its way up the board, behind terrain, and then hit your opponent first.
Yeah.
And then your opponent gets a turn of shooting before they get rolled.
Mm-hmm. And he ignores the charge modifier, so he's great for the outflanking charges because there's so many random things that just like -2.
Yeah, but then you're banking on making an 8. And, like, I've never seen a World Eater player fail an 8-inch charge out of reserves, but, like, it's got to happen at some point. At some point, you would think.
Yep.
It's an unreliable plan, but when it hits, it does hit pretty hard.
Exactly. Like, that's why I think it goes right there. Like, you could consistently use that thing more than you probably use Kharne.
Yeah, they're so much better in not in World Eaters, in CSM. Like in
because they get all the abilities. All the faction rules are just insanely what you can stack on top of, and the spells.
Yeah. They a lot better in. They're not even great in CSM, but they're a lot better in CSM.
Yeah.
All right, the Predator. I didn't make a distinction between the Annihilator and the Destructor because they both suck.
Yeah, and they're still paying for war gear.
Yeah, they're still paying for war gear, and they're just hella expensive, and boy, do they not actually do damage.
Yeah. Like, I've considered, like, taking him for, like, the anti-infantry, like, role. Like, you just take the Havoc, the Combi Bolter, Autocannon, Heavy Bolter.
It's like 150, 160.
Yeah, it feels like 120 points. I would consider in this faction because we don't have those platforms.
But it's not 120, it's like 160.
Yeah,
and you're like,
it's absurd. Why?
Yeah. Unfortunate. I don't know. They've overpriced Predator because they don't want to make Predators cheap, right? Because Predators are supposed to be this like really good anti-tank vehicle that's like, oh, there's a Predator on the other side. You don't want to expose your tanks. But then they don't give them profiles to match, so we're left with a unit that costs like 160 points when it's kitted out, and just is like 100 points of damage.
Yep.
And it's not reliable. It's just not great.
No.
Defiler.
One thing for the chat, I just want to say what I saying. What's below Butcher's Nails? Well, no, it's the Butcher's Block. You get sent back to the factory. You get chopped.
You get butcherized. All right. What if you don't want to move your units around because you decide that's not for you?
That's the Butcher's Block.
Yeah, the Defiler. You can't actually move this unit around the table.
It just doesn't function on table. It's chunky. It's also, I think, still paying. It's not like, again, it's the points thing where it doesn't get all the free war gear stuff that Chaos Space Marines ones have, where they're even cheap.
Yeah, it doesn't have free war gear?
I don't believe so in this one.
Yeah, because free war gear... So, to make me want to take a Defiler, what they had to do was they had to take an Army of Renown...
Yep.
And give them free war gear. If both those things didn't happen, I wouldn't even want to take them. And even there, you can make an argument for not taking them. In fact, you can make a very good argument for not taking them.
Yep.
Here, are we in agreement?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Right there. Sorry, buddy, but,
Yeah. It's huge. The thing is so big. It does not move through around terrain at all.
It's the size of a brass scorpion almost. It feels like I have both of them on my looking at my not how he does but my to-do desk, and I'm like, what is this?
It's like the same size as the Lord of Skulls almost, because it has legs that stick way out and then has spikes on the end.
Yeah, I think it's wider than the Lord of Skulls.
It totally could be. Yeah, it's huge for no discernible reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
It move blocks itself with no units around it.
Yep.
Which is the point where, just what are we even
That's doing? Also, when you trap it in combat, all you have to do is, grab a foot and literally tri-point a foot on the ground, and it's stuck. It's stuck.
It also, it moves 8.
Yep.
But then when it wants to move around a terrain feature, it just moves functionally 0. It's embarrassing to move around the table, honestly.
Yep.
They just need to have a special rule where, I don't know, the spikes don't count or something. Something, please. The Rhino.
The
Humble Rhino.
If the Rhino is practically as tournament stable, certain formats. It's hard to say for that unit. It's so, it does everything for getting your infantry around. It leaps frogs. It makes your Berserkers, pseudo jump infantry with 11-inch move. My build particularly is so important because you put a Rhino inside of a ruin, done. Put 4 characters behind them. I'm not getting shot at.
Yep, because if they jump around, they shoot the Rhino, guys get out, and then they're done shooting.
Yeah, and then they're not characters aren't being interacted with, and you're just golden.
Yeah. Something to know about the Defiler is it might come with a base now. If it's the same size base as a Soul Grinder, you can't bring it in from reserves and do anything because it is 6.3 inches wide. 6.3! Which means everything you need to be within 6 inches of the board edge, so you can come in, you just can't do anything. It's the same way that the Soul Grinder at 6.3 inches can't be brought in with Warp Locust because it's 6.3, can't be wholly within 6.
Yeah.
Embarrassing. Anyway. So the Rhino, very good in a lot of builds, but not essential.
Not essential.
So right about there.
I think it's in that same spot as Exalted Eightbound. It's a 0.5 staple, but sometimes not.
Yeah, I can see that.
And this is just certain number terrain formats. If you're on a lighter terrain, it's a mandatory.
Yes.
If you're in heavier, denser terrain boards, you probably don't need it all the time. You can just use those points to get more muscle in your armies, and if more muscle is just the way, it's just the way.
And there's so much muscle to choose from.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Look at all these 120 point units and the 145 point units that we have.
Yep. You can even take 8-bound. You can take 8-bound as 5-mans. I know Anthony's a big fan of taking 3 5-mans, and those things hit. They hit.
Don't let them smack you.
Yep. All right, before we go on to the Heldrake, we've got a $5 super chat from David Canty. Hey. Where would you place the Forge World Greater Brass Scorpion?
I want to say top of the list is perfectly balanced.
Really?
It is. Mimi, has small arms, it solves problems, it gets blood types, it gets so much synergy. It go waka-maka.
Yeah, it seems pretty decent.
Yeah.
Yeah. And welcome to the War Room Gold, Joshua Newman. Glad to have you here. Glad to have you.
Welcome.
All right. So Heldrakes, what do you think about Heldrakes?
I want to say either right now because rules wise, because how flyers interact, they are probably top of the list of perfectly or flawed choice.
You think about there?
But if they could start on board and start doing stuff turn 1, I would put them as perfectly balanced and probably.
Oh, that's right. They're aircraft. Yes, They have to come in from reserves and then they can do things.
Yeah, but they're not taking advantage of that 20-inch move and charging and all that stuff. That's just the sad stuff.
Yeah.
They're just so slow on getting the pace in the game going. Versus in older rules for Heldrakes, when I've played them a lot casually in this edition at the moment and took them to tournaments. Heldrakes moving turn 1 is a great opener for Chaos, but since now they have to be off board, just blur.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that's probably correct. Because that's what they do, really, is they move really fast turn 1 in charge, and now they can't do that anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. And they have okay guns, right? They have Baleflamer, which doesn't get the +2 shots like in CSM, but he does hit harder in combat, which helps quite a bit.
Yep.
All right, we've got the big boys. We've got Angron up first. What do you think about Angron, Mark?
Angron, So he has a great result at RTTs. He has
Sure.
done good at some super majors and some GTs. I think he's won some GTs. I know for sure. I don't know what size the event that Matt Robinson won him with, but he is so dependent on terrain, which is like he just gets looked at and he just kind of dies really quickly, and you have to reserve him. He's not a bad reserve target, but again, you want that live, 16-inch movement is really nice.
Yeah, you come in and you fail an 8-inch charge, and then he dies.
Yeah, if they decided that for some reason, like all the greater demons for demons, they decided, we're gonna make you like 20, 22 wounds, all that stuff. Him at 18, he should just be a 16 wound model.
If he was 16 wounds, I would like him so much more.
Yeah.
The main issue is he's not, for an 18 wound model, he's not durable. No. Just straight up, he is not durable. And that means that your opponent can shoot him anywhere on the board at turn 1.
Yep.
So if he is on the board and you go second, you're hiding the rest of your army.
Yep.
Unless you want to just lose your entire army. Yep. But you're hiding the rest of your army, which means your opponent just picks Angron up.
Yep.
He's gone.
But then you run the boards like WTC, R Terrain, and then some other casuals that just have ways to block him. And he is shorter than all the other greater demons. So, like, there's some FLG boards I think he can hide behind too. Like, the Sisters board has that weird L that I know for sure hides flipping Tau Flyers for some reason.
It can. It's a little hard.
Awkward.
It's a little awkward because he's kind of wide, so it's pretty easy to get, like, line of sight. Like, it depends on what board you're playing on there.
And the deployment type. Yeah.
But, like, if he gets seen, he's dead.
Yeah. And that's if you want to take him to some events that don't have abilities, you want to build him as a synergy piece in the formats that he can be played in. Places that have easy terrain for him to hide in. Take advantage, he's a Warp Locust, bringing in like a bunch of Bloodletters that he turns off Obstack and then tags stuff auto, no fallbacks. Here's like 20, 30 Bloodletters. Awesome.
Yeah. He does cost 6 Blood Tithe every time you want to bring him back, which, like, you can't do early. So, like, let's imagine the scenario, right? You go second, Angron's dead. That just is what happens most of the time, unless you run into an angel table.
Yep.
Right? You run into, like, your perfect table, and then he doesn't die turn 1. Then he's chained there, because as soon as he steps out, he's dead. But you go second, he's dead. It's another couple turns until you get the Blood Tithe to resurrect him. You're not buffing your army at that point.
Yep.
And then he has to make a 9-inch charge or die immediately. If you find the Blood Tithe to resurrect him and get the 8-inch charge, then you have to make that. And if you don't, he's dead immediately. Like, I don't know, man. It's so rough.
He's hard.
He is great into melee armies. He's amazing into melee armies.
Yep.
But any shooting, and I mean any shooting, will just put him down.
Yeah.
Because he's toughness 7, he's a 2-up, 4-up, and 18 wounds, and that's it. That's all the defense he has. And when he comes back to life, now, for whatever reason, the ITC says that he gets to pick his auras in reserves when he's dead. Yeah, I don't get that either. Weird. They're letting it happen, which is not how the rule works at all. But in anywhere else, when he comes back to life, he doesn't get to pick his auras.
Yeah.
Which means, because he's not on the table. And then he comes in, and then he charges, and if he makes the charge, he can't lock you in combat.
Right.
So, man, I don't know. And then he locks you out of taking Invocatus' Warlord trait.
It's just so rough. I think he just goes in balance, but he's below Jackals and above the Land Raider.
Yeah.
Because he has success. He's, people have done things, and there's potential for him on the right type of terrain formats. And probably better as a team list, to be completely honest, because after playing Avocado in teams, I don't need him as much as in teams. Because, a lot of people, once you get to those higher things, they have contingency plans to make sure there's not just game-breaking, that has a turn 1 advance charge, just kills you.
Yeah. Turn 1, you move up, and then you move again, and you charge.
Yeah. Like BFS, there's strong potential there for an Angron because you can have a ruin, and sometimes 2 ruins, he could just hide behind practically all the angles that was player placed. And that opens up a lot of potential. But, it's harder. It just comes down to styles. And also, your local meta is always a thing.
Yeah. I I think he's the dividing line between good unit and bad unit, honestly, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Or, like, workable unit.
Workable unit. Yeah, like he's not... He's so close to being a flawed unit, but only because he's done some stuff and had some success by good players at certain events.
Yeah, he does make your army worse for taking him, which kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Man, if you could take 2 warlord traits, I would be a lot more inclined to take him, because you could take Invocatus' warlord trait and his.
Yep.
Even if you don't take his, like, you just take Invocatus. Like, if you could take a warlord trait on a guy who's not your warlord. If you could take Invocatus' warlord trait, it'd be so much better, so much more likely to want Angron.
Exactly, because it's the pacing thing. Because Angron, if you want him to be active early game, you need other things to be engaging and supporting him, or to distract, right? You need those blood types running early, and if you can have those blood types running early with the Invocatus opening plays, then you can have Angron resurrecting turn 1, turn 2 really easily, but not quite if you're just not there.
Yeah, if you don't have the scout move, then like you're not getting those blood tithe turn 1. Yeah, it's rough. Yeah. It's also he comes back at 8 wounds. And 8 wounds at toughness 7 with a 2-up 4-up dies to anything. Yep. Anything in the game just like looks at him and kills him.
Yep.
Even Tau can run into combat with him and kill him. Right? Even Tau, that super commander, just walks in and can dome him in combat. Even if you're playing on ITC, which allows you to, play rules that don't exist, where you get to pick the no fallback, and he comes in and he tags something, he can still just get charged out by Tau.
Yeah.
Or a unit of reroll hits and wounds, +1 to hit, chainsaw, armored sentinels can get him out of the game. Like, it's just so easy to kill him at 8 wounds.
Yeah.
When he comes back, you're spending 6 blood tithe points for him to fall over.
Yeah.
And, man, if I had to decide between him or a T-Rex, I would take the T-Rex. All right. Thank you in the chat, Mr. Rex, Dr. Rex.
Dr. Rex.
Dr. Rex. All right. Finally, the Lord of Skulls.
Man, that's a hard one. It's like
how many points is this thing?
It's like 520, I want to say, or something like that.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a chunky boy.
It's a big boy, though.
Memes for the meme gods at the end of the day. It benefits greatly from the types. It has actual shooting. It's not the type of shooting I want World Leaders. It's like high damage, not as much volume shots. That's meant to like drop like Marines and like Terminators and vehicles, which I'm like, this is not the problem we have killing. It's like shaft models that are just blocking us.
Yeah.
This is why I put the Brass Scorpion way higher. It's cheaper and it has anti-infantry.
He's so big.
He's so big.
I mean, this thing has a lot of shots.
It has a lot of shots.
It's a lot of shots.
It doesn't get as much synergetic as I want to for helping it shooting out. But the feeling of pains on it, it's amazing.
It's so long that you get move blocked on anything.
Yeah.
Because I believe you can go over units.
Yep.
But you can't end on top of them.
No.
And since you're like legitimately 8 inches long, you just can't.
Yeah. Hilariously, on actual Games Workshop tables, it's almost like a form of indirect, though, because their ruins are kind of short and stocky, so if they touch them, they can just see over.
He's so big. It's just like, hello, what are you doing in there?
Like you touch that ruins. Oh, it's 575. Nope.
Oh, 575 is so many points. Your army doesn't... I don't believe you have a single buff for him.
A nail. I mean, nails. Oh, just blood types. Sorry, the Red Angels... He has stuff that he can use in there, like ignore charge modifier, turn off all that stuff or something like that.
Out of respect,
and you can top bracket him.
I think he's around here-ish. I don't think he's in more Butcher's Nails because these things are legitimately unused.
He's probably better than the Heldrake.
Okay.
Because like people do memely around taking them, and like I've had a few guys that have gone like positive at GTs with him because he's just a troll.
True. I think Kharne is better than this riffraff.
All right, I can agree with that. Seeing how more of the rest of this is flowing out,
I'm a lot more willing to take Kharne than I am willing to take this guy. Like I feel like everything below the Lord of Skulls is just garbage.
Yeah, it's just why.
But there's levels to garbage. Some things are Predator, and some things are Maulerfiend.
He's go from like little baby steps to like giant steps.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's just stats. Like, you can't do an Iron Warriors one. Iron Warriors one, legitimately very hard to put away.
Yeah.
Like, very hard to kill. And you can buff it with +1 to hit. You can do the whole 9 yards. World Eaters, he's just stats. And he's very expensive stats at that.
Yeah, and no way to make his shooting more consistently better, which is what you would want him to do in a World Eaters list, as he goes up, shoots things, if in charges, and more in the mid-late game, or dies.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have a way to make his shooting better.
No. So looking at this tier list, as we've got everything up, would you change the positioning of anything here? I mean, other than the Land Raider, which has memeingly entered perfectly balanced.
Other than adding like a second image for like Spawn, and hey, look, Spawn are also as a unit.
I'm just. Do you strenuously object to this happening?
That's fine.
Okay. Memes are all fun.
I did my credit. I did my Blood Gods due.
Yeah. The screenshots will happen. I'm also more likely to take that. And there we go. Yep.
What was I gonna say? Something in chat, but I thought was really funny, but I'm trying to look for it. I lost track.
Yeah.
More words.
So, anything else you'd move around?
Nah. I think that's pretty all the way around. Like,
yeah. Something like that.
Yeah.
Something roughly in
the only
that
thing you could like
direction.
make an argument that you could change is like Avocado and like Solo Spawn's choice, but like, dude, they're both so easy to include because they're so cheap.
You include 1 Invocatus and 3 Spawn. It's like they're equally good because you just take max of each.
Yeah.
Like, every time.
S tier is all practically occupying the same space.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're all occupying the, hey, what if you took 3 of this, 1 of this, 3 of this, and fill out the remainder of your points with with the
Shungdogs.
Yeah, and, I mean, the list has ton of ability to draw from Perfectly Balanced, ton of ability to draw from even a little bit from Flawed Choice, although, like, God, I really wouldn't.
Yep.
That's kind of dire.
Yep. Oh, send them back to Tractor Supply. I don't want to go to Tractor Supply. As a farmer, I'm going to give you a heads up. Tractor Supply sucks for farmers. Like, it does nothing. It's like the Dollar General of it. You're just like, why would I go here?
There. All right, so I think that's the units.
Yep.
A lot of good stuff. Maybe past him. So like from here on, I think a lot of good stuff right in their sort of area.
Yep.
And then a lot of stuff we don't talk about because technically it's CSM stuff that can be painted red.
Yep. Sadness.
All
right. Well,
I think that's it for us for today. But this has been a lot of fun, and Blood for the Blood God, etc.
Yep. Butcher's gonna butch. Now get out of here and go get some lunch, wherever you're in the world.